You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome in. We are back. It's the Insight NFL Podcast. Wednesday, 12th of November. We've got the trio of us in here tonight. Always look forward to these shows. You know, the little duo shows, they're nice and intimate, but, you know, the three lads together, I imagine we're going to be throwing around the term wet sock a lot in this one. Just thought I'd get that out there early. Mav, throw it to you, mate. This is our SuperCoach Trade Talk show. Like I mentioned, week 11 coming up. Not too many big injuries from last week, which we love. But again, still a lot to talk about in the trade realm for SuperCoach. But how are you feeling as we dive into it?
Yeah, I look, I'm happy and excited to talk about trades this week. We're talking just off air about possible trades and what we could possibly do as well. And I'm still sort of in limbo. There's a lot of things you can possibly do. And this time of the year, we don't care about break-evens as much or negative break-evens as much as what you would in week 2 or week 3 or maybe even week 7. So it's a different ballgame now. We're in the second half of the year. We're chasing premium elite players versus guys who might be in the upward direction and making us money. I think we're at the back end of trades now.
Back end of trades, only a few more weeks to go. I'm thinking of the regular season in traditional lens, but SuperCoach, we've got the whole 18 weeks. And Secko, throwing to you, and I just have to throw out there too early in the show, we're all equal heading into week 11 because JT's on bye. So how are you feeling about that?
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like this is the week I've been waiting for. The Fade JT hashtag Fade JT hasn't worked so well, but anyway, we'll see. There's 8 weeks to go. It's crazy. We usually we go fantasy brains on. We're getting into wrap up season for regular season for fantasy usually around now, but we're only just past halfway. So lots to do. Hopefully everyone's teams are sort of getting towards the end, and most people are sort of down to 5, 6, 7 trades, I think now. So to Mav's point, you've got to be a little bit more selective and make sure you nail it, because you can't just keep flipping guys like we've been doing for the first 10. So yeah, or not so much the first 10, but for the first 3 or 4, we were happy just to piss off Kittle and piss off a bunch of different primos who had one bad game. But yeah, now it's sort of pick your guys and have conviction. So we might try and guide you through who those guys are to last you the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, diving through, plenty to cover off in this one. And like you touched on, Secko, our end game positional rankings, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion when we get to the trade-ins segment, because I feel like the last few weeks it's been pretty chalky. Again, in this format with SuperCoach, it's hard to kind of defer away from the top guns in those positions. And by this point, you'd really hope to be set in that. For the question segment at the back end of the show, purely just trade dilemma questions for SuperCoach in this one. But please, make sure to throw them in there, and we'll get to them at the back end as per usual. For injuries, we normally cover that, but we will leave that onto tomorrow night's show, our Week 11 primer and final show of the week. If you did miss us on Monday, we had our review and recovery for Week 10. That link is in the below. Nice there for you. Gents, before we jump in, we do have to highlight our unlimited winner for Week 11. And before I throw up the graphic and we'll pick apart the team, see what would move out for this week, it is brought to you by our good friends over at NFL Helmets Down Under. If you're chasing any NFL full-sized helmets, memorabilia, or even just straight up NFL apparel, be sure to check out their store. The link is in the description below. Or if you want to just get a little bit of a gauge and check out what they have to offer over on Instagram at NFL Helmets _Down Under for that. So, gents, without further ado, Unlimited League winner for Week 10, Cooper Maker. No fun name this week for us to rattle on a whole heap. He put up a whopping 685 in this one, and I'll talk through his squad here. Jackson Dart, starting quarterback. He's got El Gersima on the bench. Absolutely no clue. He's just really dumpster dive for that guy. JT with the blue VC band, so you would have looped him in to get his massive 95 score this week as captain. Jameer Gibbs, 73. Bijan, Ashton Genty as the starters. Javonte and Henderson on the bench. So, left a little bit of points there if he listened to Secko's start of the week with Henderson in there. Wide receivers, JSN, Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Emeka Egbuka, Ramadunze. On the bench, Jamar Chase was on the bye and Ted McMillan. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, You had Darren Waller with the C, so he's looped him in. He's copped a 3 from Hawkinson. You hate to see it. Tyler Loop with kicker 28 has Hoyland on the bench. The Rams defense with the Pats on the bench, a nice little start-sit decision there, and Josh Allen and the flex. So, gents, a couple of things, stick out here to move off from week 11 moving onwards. And Mav, I'll throw it to you. I know you're a massive TJ Hawkinson fan. Is this where you'd look to move for week 11 to kick things off?
Well, I mean, he's at bottom dollar nearly, isn't he, in tight ends? So you can't really move him on. What is he, 6.5, I think it is, from the top of my head there, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yep.
So you can't really move him on. He's got a pretty good list there. Maybe a Dunze or a Buka you could probably move if you want to get an elite player, or a Lave, depending on what you want to do. One of those three. If you want to upgrade, that can happen. And he's got CD. He's got Jamar Chase on the bench there, so you can get CD coming in if you want. You can get another elite player coming in if you want, like Puka Nakua or anything like that. So, outside of that, tight end is a definite need that he needs to probably sort out though. So if you can try and generate some money into Hawkinson to upgrade him to a premium player, would be very beneficial. Outside of that, the team looks okay.
It's a real shame that we can't see how much cash that Cooper Maker has left in the bank here to help kind of work things out. So we're flying in the dark, but Secko from you. Concussion. So that is a nice, easy one there. But Secko, how do you see it? Anything that kind of defers for what Mavs is coming on?
Yeah, I was going to say what you said, Marl. It would be good to know if there's lots of cash in the bank, there's options to move here. But I think Javonte probably can go. He's at a good price point that actually can get you somewhere, which is great. Olave has been really good, and he's probably a bit of a pod option really. But he's also a better price point than Ekbuka and Adunze, and probably not as good. So there's some starting points to use. It's a matter of how many trades and how Cooper Maker wants to go. But Hawkinson's obviously a very glaring need because he wasn't the one that we were talking about on Monday, was he, Marl, where I said there was 25 guys I'd prefer to have at the position? I think it was.
Was Hawkinson, yeah. And you said Cole Pitts is above that list too, just to throw that in there.
Yeah, I also said Jatavian Sanders was above him. So from memory, just move him on. But yeah, obviously he had a good week. He beat me by about 180 something. Just that's the difference of JT's VC and not. So we had about the same score otherwise. That's good to know.
Absolutely massive week from Cooper Maker. I think that is the biggest we've seen so far, 685, which is just massive. Lloyd, if you are watching this, make sure to get in touch. We will have a couple posts up on socials tomorrow as well, so we can send you out your standard squeeze 4-in-1, which we give away for our weekly top scorer winner each week. If you're not aware of standard squeeze, the link is in the description below. Grab a great alcohol accessory for your pleasure there. Before we get in, gents, there is 2 teams on bye. The Colts, we did touch on JT. A lot of managers are going to be without him this week, probably scratching their heads on who to take as a vice captain or captain. But if you are scratching your head on that, captain's huddle will drop first thing in the morning. Also, the Saints, probably the only real one that we have to worry about is Chris Olave in that one that we're missing out on. So kicking things off with the trade outs, as per usual, quarterback position. Jalen Hurts, we had him in here a couple of weeks ago after their week 9 bye as a nice move out. His break even is going to be up to 55 for next week. He's at 23.7 million, owned by just under 10% of managers out there. You can definitely move him on and try and bring in one of the elite guys that we will touch on later on at the show. But Secko, throwing it to you in this one. Any other standouts in the quarterback room that you want to move on from this week?
Look, the only thing, it's obviously this guy's on bye, so Danny Jones is an option. If you've got him, a few people still do. He's 5% owned, 21 mil, so he's not too bad. He's dropped off. I think we were all in love with Daniel Jones for a while there, and what he was doing. Probably also hurts Pittman. It hurts Tyler Warren as well. I think defenses have found him out a bit. So if you've got him, he can go on his bye. You're not going to be holding him anyway. You're not saving him for anything good. So it's not too much to get up to Mahomes, Lamar territory, or Josh Allen, which we'll talk about at trade-ins, but you probably want one of the big guns if you're going from anyone at the moment, unless you're really playing for league and and you really want to pot it up, I think Danny Jones is another good one to go.
And Mav, throwing it to you, I will just say if there is any pushback on Daniel Jones managers that are looking to hold on after the bye, he does have Kansas City and Houston up again the next 2 weeks. So I think you may want to reconsider in that one. But Mav, for you, quarterbacks that you're looking to move off this week.
Yeah, it would be Danny Dimes if you're 5% owned, mate. It costs you $4 million and it gets you to Josh Allen. So that's a bargain, in my opinion. Especially what you paid at the start of the year compared to what you're getting now. It's $4 million is a beauty. So that's awesome. And yeah, Jalen Hurts is probably another one. But, he's got to break even to 55. He actually could hit that next week. It's possible. I don't know who he's playing. Detroit. He's playing Detroit, so that could be hit if he's still holding Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's a keeper till the end of the year. So if you wanted to move him on, that's cool. If you still have him, you want to keep him, I get it. But I think that his window to be traded was a couple of weeks ago. So I imagine those guys that have him are probably inactive teams that have given up on the year so far. So outside of that, boys, there's probably not a lot of other QBs out there. I mean, Jackson Dart would be another one. Obviously, if you own him and he starts for you, he would be another one that I'd move on. He's going to miss this week with a concussion. That $21 million as well, very similar price point to what Danny Dimes is. So you can easily move him on another less than $4 million and get you to Josh Allen. Or if you want Lamar, or if you want Mahomes, I fully understand as well. So those three options, I think personally, are the ones, and the rest of them, honestly, you shouldn't really own. I know, I understand the whole pod difference, and you want to have a point of difference somewhere. But reality is, if you don't have 4 of the top 5 QBs, and you're probably just losing out already.
Another easy one to throw out there if you do have him on there. It's only 2% roster, but again, if there is a couple of managers listening to this, please get rid of Bo Nix. He's just under 24 million. He's got a 75 break even. The wins that the Broncos have had this year are pretty fraudulent, I think. And I think, Bo Nix is starting to come undone a bit there in Denver. So look to move off of him. They've got Kansas City this week. I think they could be in a bit of trouble with that one. Kansas City off the bye. But Secko, we've got a name here too, and I know you've currently got this guy on your team, Drake May. Is he a move out for you? I know, what's your kind of thought process with this week? I know they've got the bye in week 14. How are you kind of playing it out with Drake May?
Yeah, it's a tough one. He has to go at some point because he's got to buy. So, I mean, it's all about, for me personally, it's all the money. It's the money game that I'm playing. What complicates that is that I'm looking to get Lamar in, and the break even's exactly the same. So it's does Lamar versus Cleveland outperform Drake May, who is fortunate enough to get the New York Jets this week. So I'm going to keep Drake May because they've completely given up, clearly in their actions and in their in everything they do at the moment. So Aaron Glenn got another win. That's pointless. If you're tanking, you tank, right? But he's trying to save his job. Drake May's just going to have an absolute field day, I think, at home in Foxborough. So that's my reasoning. It might cost me, $500,000 in the end, but eventually I will get rid of him because he has to go before his bye. But it's an option there because if you think that Lamar's your guy, or you want to get Mahomes, or you want to get Josh Allen, or you want to go for someone completely different, which we're not advising, but you can. Drake May can go because he has to go, if not this week, in 3 weeks' time, regardless.
And I'm really hoping for Drake May. He hasn't had a rushing touchdown since week 4 for him, which is a bit surprising. He is a bit of a dual threat on the ground. I think this could be the week to break the streak up against the Jets there at home. Running backs, guy, a big name that we have sticking out for us that is on bye, Jonathan Taylor. He's at 29 million. He's just made so much cash still. It just keeps going. Silly for me. I didn't put the VC on him because I thought at some point this has to end, and it just got even better with JT in that Berlin game against the Falcons. That could not stop anything in that one, but he's made you just over 9 million. His break even is going to be at 48. And then after their bye, just want to pull up their schedule real quickly. Kansas City, Houston, Jackson, Seattle is very tough those next 4 weeks after the bye. But again, he can you just can't really fade JT because at this point, I think he could be going to break the rushing record for the year. Might be in a pole position win MVP if he scores 25 touchdowns. So he could kind of have that in mind. He's on track well and truly. So, gents, I will throw it to you, Mav. JT, let's imagine you have him on your team at the moment. Would you be looking to move him off this week? I know there's probably 5 or 6 running backs that are in that end game that we like. Do you think it's worth it moving off JT and bringing in one of those guys this week?
I will say this week's going to be a good week. I'm going to enjoy this week. My first and everyone else's first JT less a week. So I'm going to really enjoy this one. But no, you can't trade JT. You cannot. You will not do it. You'll have to bring in someone off the bench. Travion Henderson, if you've got him, could be starting material. If you've got Genty still on your bench, will be starting material. They got the Cowboys this week. So you have to go to your bench this week, and that's not a big deal. I mean, even Vidal, if you got him on your bench, they got Jacksonville. So, any of those options for a spot start for 1 week for JT is worth it than trading him out and then regretting it. So no, JT is not a trade out candidate, but I'll still enjoy this week. Instead of, maybe not in traditional fantasy because I do have a few shares in JT, actually in 4 teams out of my 9. I have JT, so I'm not going to enjoy it in that lens, but in the SuperCoach lens, I'm going to absolutely be foaming from the mouth, I reckon.
And Secko, is that the same for you on JT? I know we'll spend a little bit more time on him because he's 9 points best in terms of average this year than the next best in the running back position. CMC 42, JT 51.1. Same thing. If you had JT at the moment, are you holding on to him or are you getting a bit savvy and looking to move out and bringing in another primo running back?
You can't trade him out, but this is all a caveat on this. If you have 10 plus trades, maybe a boost, you've got to start using them now. There's no point holding them. You can hold some, obviously, but if you've got heaps of trades, you can look to move Taylor out to a primo this week and then move it back. It's not the most efficient use of trading, but you've got probably 3 more than everyone else has anyway. So if you've got 11, 12 trades, you can trade him out. Get anyone, pick a letter, whoever you want, and then use a trade the week after, and you get a whole week's more data. Then you might have an injury, touch wood, but someone like Devon Achane might get injured, and you had him, and you can trade him out back to JT again. So, it's only for those instances where you're flushed with trades. You're going to make a lot more points going up to a primo probably than you are fielding Kimani Vidal for 1 week.
And other running backs, gents, that we're looking to move out here, we've got James Cook. He's got the highest break even here. They are up against Tampa Bay, who are tough against the run. Not tough against Henderson's breakaway speed last week, but normally they are. He's at 18.7 million, 40% owned. The Bills really do need him. They need him to fire off. So I think he probably could hit this 61 break even. Probably not this week with the matchup, but you can look to move off of him and look to bring in one of the key guys. And Mav, what do you reckon on James Cook?
Mate, the Bucks don't really scare me, to be honest with you, mate, defensively. I know they're okay against the run, but they don't scare me. I think Josh Allen and the Bills, again, had a bad week last against the Dolphins. They'll be able to sort their shit out this week against the Bucks. And they'll be asserting their dominance on the ground. And I think JT, I think, he's still in my head, JT. I still can't get over him. But no, I think James Cook we should be back on track this week. To be honest with you, mate, I don't think he's a trade out candidate unless you're looking to. He's still a top 5 running back, top 6 running back. So I just don't see the point. He's been off a couple of weeks, but I think all in all, that's the league, I suppose. You're gonna have some off weeks in any given week. So I still think he's a solid top 5, top 6 running back in the competition. So. And I'm going to put a segue to the next one is same with Bijan too, to be fair. And you don't trade out guys like that unless you're getting in JT and he's got the bite, so you're not getting him in. So what's the point? So I'm not trading out any of those primo running backs, especially this week anyway.
I'm with you there. If you got those primos, keep them in. You never know what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. One of them might get injured and you might need an extra trade up your sleeve there. Some guys that we can confidently get rid of, a guy that's been in this show for the past few weeks saying that, hey, it's time to go. He's just come off his bye. Javonte Williams, still at 25% owned. Hopefully you moved off him last week and brought in a primo. Just under 16 million, you can definitely bring in some guys. I mean, Bijan's only, 2 mil more, or 1.7 mil more than Javonte there, so you can easily switch him out. Secko, any names in the running back positions that stick out to you that must go this week?
Yeah, Javonte's a good call. I think another one's Quinshon Judkins. He's sort of been picked up a couple of different times by people in SuperCoach this year, and funnily enough, that suspension just disappeared, never spoken about again, which is really bizarre. I thought that was a bit of a danger after his sort of first 3 or 4 games that at any time he might lose, miss 3 weeks. But that's not the case. It's more his output. He's had one decent game in the last month, 52 points against Miami, who everyone has beaten Miami except for Bijan Robinson on the ground this year. And that was a game he had 3 touchdowns. So, that's 52 is actually not that good with 3 touchdowns, which is crazy. So he's had a 7, a 6, and a 19 against the Jets. And the Jets are about the second worst team against the run. So I just think it's performance based on him. He's 12 mil. He can still get you somewhere. He's got a bit of cash behind him. Before he loses much more, you can jump off him hopefully to secure that 4th primo or a really good 5th bench option if you want to.
And with Judkins, he's made you just over 8 million as well. So if you had him early on, you're very happy with that return. Another easy name here to move out if you do have him in your squad, Bill Krosky-Merritt, who was mentioned last week as well. He's still at just under 8% owned, 6.3 million. He's lost another $1 million this week from that performance against the Lions. 20 break even. I believe Chris Rodriguez, the other running back for the Commanders, will probably miss this upcoming week, but even still, I'm not looking to hold on to Bill whatsoever. If you've got him there, just get rid of him before you move cash. Bucky Irving.
I'm just going to say on Bill, the other problem is he's at $6 million. So unless you're making money on him, there's no one to really go down to. So you have to put money on. And I'm going to mention this guy. We're going to mention him later on. But Trayvon Henderson would be another one if you bring him in. You'd actually be spending $1.5 million to get there, the $1.6 million to get there. So I don't actually think Bill's a trade out candidate because his price is actually so low and there's no one to go lower than. So that's my 2 cents anyway.
No, great shout. You could even just leave him there as a little placeholder just in case, if any injuries kind of struck up. I know their run home isn't too bad. Maybe Jaden Daniels comes back after their bye later on in a couple of weeks, but has not been good. You definitely cannot start Bill Krosky-Merritt. Another guy you definitely can't start, Bucky Irving. Will he ever come back? We miss you, Bucky. We need you badly. 8% rostered. You'd imagine that is from owners that have, turned inactive, like we touched on at the start of the show, but just under 16 million. Again, only 1.5 mil to go up to Bijan. You definitely need to get another name in there to help you score throughout the week. But Secko, any other running backs before we get to the wide receivers?
No, there's not much. I mean, Kamani Vidal is still 8% owned. You don't have to get rid of him. He might be a bye week. He can sit on the bench, but he's at over 10 mil, so he's still got a good price on him as well. This is his last week. It's not as widely known, I don't think, as it probably should be. But American Hampton he's been practicing slowly, but they've got this week and then a bye the week after, and then Hampton's eligible to come back. So, or he was already eligible to come back this next week. He's not doing it. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Vidal will be a sort of almost an irrelevant guy in 2 weeks' time. So you can move him on to someone good now if you want to use that $10 million, or down to Travion if you really wanted to free up some cash, do it next week to get JT if you haven't got him, for example. But yeah, he's probably the only other one. But back on the Bucky thing though, just really quickly, I think I heard somewhere today that there's no time frame all of a sudden. So it's gone from being ruled out on the Monday of every week before the match to he might never be back. So that 2-week injury, not going on IR, is really seemed to get spiral out of control. So I'm not surprised some people held him through that and didn't jump off, thinking he'd be back soon. But yeah, he's probably gone, in my opinion, for the best part of the year.
It'll be 7 weeks after this week has played out that Bucky's missed, which you absolutely hate to see. But even still, I mean, looking at traditional fantasy, he's 39th in terms of running back, which I don't know, maybe that's not right. He's only played 4 games, but he's just that good we need him back. But moving on to wide receivers, a couple of names from the top that are on the bye. Michael Pittman, he was a nice mid-priced pickup a couple of weeks ago. His break-even's at 40. He's just over 14 million. He's on bye this week. So again, nice time to move out if you're holding him up to that bye period. And another one, Chris Olave, that we have here, just over 13 million, 5% owned, and a 22 break-even. But Mav, I want to get your thoughts on Chris Olave. Tyler Shuck has actually looked not too bad. I think he definitely looks better than Spencer Rattler, has more potential. Chris Olave is just the only guy there but outside of Juwan Johnson. How do you feel about him rest of season? Say you don't have too many trades. Are you happy to try and hold him there to try and get you through after he comes back on the bye, or do you think you can do better at that price point?
Look, boys, to be honest with you, again, I said at this top of the show, at this time of the year, we're looking at players that are going to be finishing probably in the top 10, especially in this wide receiver room where you have to start 6 of them. You probably want to have 6 of the top 12 players, okay? Ideally, maybe 6 in the top 10 is probably the realistic goal, right? Currently, Olave's average points per game sits him at number 20, right? So he's outside of the top 10, outside of the top 12. So realistically, and look, keep in mind, we have guys like Jaden Reed and Malik Neighbors in that category. So you can't put them in there. You got Quentin Johnson in there, you got Garrett Wilson in there. So you have to take those guys out of the equation. So maybe his spot comes up a bit more, but he's still not in the top 12 players in that position. So we're looking at guys like CD. We're looking at guys like Jamar. We're looking at guys like Amon Ra, Puka, Jackson Smith, and Jigbar. The guys like that that are going to end well for the year. Obviously, don't have a buy as well. You don't want to be trading the guy who's going to have his buy either. But unfortunately, Chris Olave, I don't think is in that same category. But in saying that, he's the number one option if you want to keep him and take that risk that he might be, or you see the upside, or you see a pathway where he might be a top 12 or a top 10 player. He is the only option at the moment at the Saints. Legitimately the only option there at the Saints. The only thing is, do they shut him down the last few weeks of the year because they're pox, or there's all different scenarios where it could happen where he doesn't play the last few weeks because they're just shit. But yeah, I can see where he can be a top 12 player. But again, I'm not really looking for him to be in my final team.
Yeah, I'm there with you, and we will get through our positional rankings when we get to our trade-ins. Like mentioned on the wide receiver segment there, Secko, for you, I mean, Tet McMillan, one to ask. We were talking about him a couple of weeks ago as well, but he's still over 50% owned, just over 10 million, 24 break even up against Atlanta and then San Fran before they head on to the bye, I believe. What are you looking to do with Tet? Are you kind of just holding him there on your bench, perhaps, until it kind of gets to that, or how do you see him playing out for the future?
Yeah, perhaps you do. I think everybody would want to be aiming to have at least one really reliable bench wide receiver. I'm thinking in the realm of Tetaroa, Rome, Dunze, Igbuka. There's a handful of guys. You might have JJ or Jefferson involved in that somewhere. But yeah, I just think McMillan, like Mav hit the nail on the head. He said it perfectly. It's probably 10. There's 10 receivers that you want to end up with on your field. So obviously there's 2 more on the bench. But if you can get McMillan to one of them, it's only 4 to 5 mil to get to someone who might, could be a top 10 guy. So I think I've been saying for about 3 weeks, McMillan is right at the end. He's made his money. He's not making any more. He's not a top 20 guy, in my opinion. Sort of capped by his offense as well. So you can use him, get to someone who you want to actually have and you think is going to be a chance for those real big boom scores, which he can't have. You can't have them in that offense. So, I think McMillan's a good option to go now. And 3 weeks ago, but now.
And another name to bring up, which might be a little bit on paper controversial, Justin Jefferson. He's just under 39% owned. I've currently got him in my team, brought him in a couple of weeks ago at, I think, 15.5 million. So he's lost me some cash. 35 break even. He's lost just under 5 million on the year. And JJ Wetsock McCarthy has not been as advertised. on there. So throwing to you, Mav, with Justin Jefferson there, are you looking to move him out before he loses you more cash? I know it's hard to try and, move away from Justin Jefferson, arguably the best wide receiver in the actual NFL, not just here for SuperCoach. So, yeah, what are your kind of thoughts on JJ moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those guys that's got JJ myself, and probably another big reason why my team hasn't been that great this year is guys that you think they're going to be booming haven't been booming, and he's been one of them. So if you want to get rid of him because you're frustrated, I actually understand. If you can do it, sure, I get it. Unfortunately, the QB play at Minnesota is not allowing Justin Jefferson to be what we think Justin Jefferson can be and has been in the past. So, I mean, look, even on the weekend, for example, he had 12 targets and he caught the ball 4 times. So, if Justin Jefferson sees 12 targets in a game with a half decent QB, that's going to end up in 8 or 9 catches for 150 yards plus 2 touchdowns or a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like he's a target machine. He's a vacuum cleaner if the ball's anywhere near him. But his problem is he's getting some shit pills thrown to him. So, I understand if you want to move him on. I get it. Unfortunately, I think I'm keeping him, and we continue to keep him. I just don't think that's the move that I need to make. I can bench him, but I also haven't got a position where I can trade him. So he will stay. But if you've got a trade up your sleeve and you can do it and you can afford to do it, then I can see why you would.
And Secko, same thing for you on Justin Jefferson because he is such a polarizing player. Currently ranked 21st in terms of average points per game in the wide receiver position. I know for me this week, he'll be riding the pine. I'll have Rome Odunze playing in for him instead. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Justin Jefferson moving forward?
Yeah, it's hard because I don't think he's worth enough money now to trade. And it's at that stage of the year where trades are getting a lot more precious than they were. So for me, very similar to Mav, I'm not going to trade him. I'm just going to hope things get better. He's played 4 games of football with this guy. It takes a lot more than that for wide receiver ones to build rapport with their quarterback. So I'm hoping with this 8 more weeks, I'm hoping, the majority of those can be a good relationship between the two. They realize it just, Kevin O'Connell does the easy throws to JJ, pretty much cut out Addison, Hawkinson, Naylor, all of them, run them as decoys, and do all the layups to Jefferson. That's the plan, hopefully. But to your point, Mel, yeah, he's not starting this week for me. Egbuka's in the spot for him, so in my team. So if you've got a half decent bench receiver, maybe just think about Jefferson. If he has 50 on the bench, that's okay because we know he's back and we can hold him with confidence. But I think it's a week just to see someone else in there.
And before we move on to tight ends, quick few more names here. Garrett Wilson, reports coming out he's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks, but you'd probably think they'd probably just shut him down for the rest of the year if it gets to that point. He's at just under 15.5 million, 4% owned, 46 break even, and on an absolute dumpster fire of an organization. Secko, we'll just argue on these two guys, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. Deebo's just over 9.3, Metcalf at 11.5. I mean, these guys, they've lost you a lot of cash lately, but Deebo this week, they've got Miami, 16 break even, and DK Metcalf, he's got a higher break even at 49, but he's up against Cincinnati. So are you pulling the trigger this week or are you waiting to see how it plays out? You'd probably look to have them on the bench, I'd say. But yeah, Deebo and DK for you in week 11. Oh, you're muted there, Secko. You might have hit. You want to touch something? There you go. You're good.
Sorry. The thing about these guys, they're on this list because we're at the stage of the season where we need primos. Like we want our keepers, we want our best of the best wide receivers. And if you're sort of holding another week and Metcalf may have a 40 because they're playing Cincinnati. Don't forget last time the Steelers played, it was 4 touchdowns all to tight ends. So that could easily happen again with Rodgers only throwing it to Darnell Washington and Pat Frymuth a couple of times. But you can hold for a week to try and get a score out of it. But his break even's 49. So next week, every chance he's going to be 10.5 mil. And it just gets a little bit harder to get anyone of value from him. So Metcalf can go. And Deebo was a good in theory pick. Jaden Daniels has nuked that pretty much. But just him being almost 30 and and a bit fat. No disrespect, but we saw the photos from he's just not that fit, and he can't. We're 10 weeks into the season. He looks like he's slow. It happens to the best of them. So he's probably just a pivot because he's not going to be what we'd hoped. I think we were all pretty bullish on him. So definitely as guilty as anyone who is 10% that own him. But yeah, 9.3 is a really awkward price. So you probably have to put a fair bit of money on top of him to get where you want to get to. But he might be a candidate for a bench stash as a backup in case of emergency. Fill in.
Tight ends, and I always have to start with Mav on this one. Tyler Warren, Mav, he's on bye this week. Just under 11 million, 22 break even. Had a bit of a bounce back last week after some poor showings. Is this the time to pull the trigger and get rid of Tyler Warren? I mean, he's made you what, 8 million thereabouts. So you're very happy with that return if you picked him up at the start of the year, like we were banging the table for right at the gate. But Tyler Warren, are you getting rid of him this week?
You can. You've probably missed the boat for premium maximization in money. Last week was actually the week to trade him. If you're going to do it and get Loveland in, that was the trade that's going to make you what, $5 million, give or take. I think it was top of my head, maybe even a bit more. Maybe it was $6 million, but that was the deal. That was the week. Now you'll make 3, so it's not really. You can still do it, but it's not great. So look, I suppose you can. If he's starting for you, then probably. Even if you want to upgrade him to a George Kittle, George Kittle got his buy coming up, but if you want to upgrade him, you can do that too. So he's at a good price where you can either upgrade or downgrade. I suppose there's multiple ways you can do him at the moment, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I think last week was the week personally.
And another name here, purely just because on the buy, Juwan Johnson, 8.8 million, 3% owned, does have a -8 break even, but if you do need a starter this week, it is good time to move him out. And again, you can pick up some other options at that price point. Secko, Ronde Gadsden, 11.4 million, 39 break even, 7% owned. He did suffer a knee injury. It looked to be a bone bruise, I think is what I saw. So he's day-to-day at the moment. Every chance to start this week. But yeah, how are you feeling about Gadsden? They do have their bye, I think, week 12 as well. So you've got him for one more week before that.
Yeah, it's one more week. I think it was a quad bruise, so it's even better than a bone bruise in the knee, which it was initially thought to be knee, but he'll probably play. 39 break even though by next week. He's 11 mil. He's more money than Tyler Warren. He's a great price. You can go him to Brock Bowers is only under 3 mil. Him to Trey McBride's a bit more, obviously, but him to George Kittle, 2.5 mil, less than that. So I think now's the time. If you've got him, may as well get rid of him because, again, he's not going to be a keeper. He's a good player, but now injured with the bye next week, you got to carry him for probably 2 weeks. You can move him on and get him to a keeper. And the tight ends are similar to every other position at the moment. It seems there's a pretty small core that you sort of want to aim for, and spraying and going too far outside that's probably not really needed, especially in the situation of an injury into bye player like Gadsden.
Kickers and defenses, I'll loop these guys in together and we will just absolutely blitz through it. 2 guys that are on bye, Badgley for the Colts and Group for the Saints. Both of these guys are in that 7.5 to 8 million mark, 1% owned. If you were relying on them to start, you're going to have to move them out. Hopefully you've got a nice little bench option, but if not, just let them sit on the bench, save a trade if you've got a starter in that kicker. And the same for the defense position. We've got the 49ers who have just been so unlucky when it comes to injuries this year. I mean, probably the top 5 guys are all out for the year. They're at basement price 3.6 million. And again, it's probably a bit hard to try and move them on. I know, Mav, you were mentioning you were looking at moving the 49ers this week, if I remember correctly. How do you kind of see them with the 49ers? I mean, 3.6 million, what can you really do?
Boys, I've done it. I've boosted the trade in a defensive team. I cannot believe it, but that is also due to the poor play that I've had in my defensive squad. So it's a need that's needed to happen for the last 6 weeks, but I've done it. I've kept the Niners. I've traded out the Cardinals. So they're in the bottom 10, 12 scoring defenses in the league. So again, we're only talking a difference of, maybe 5 to 10 points a game, give or take, not much in it. But it's the constant shit scoring that I'm getting out of these defenses and the high scoring that I'm missing out that everyone else is getting. And it's just accumulating over the weeks. So that is why I am where I am at the moment. But yes, they can all go, mate. Anyone not in the top 15 can all go.
Yep, 49ers definitely not in that list. That's our trade outs for this week. Moving on to trade ins, getting a bit more positively. Time to liven things up a bit. These quarterbacks, now the top three, we've gotten through that stage where they're all past their bye. And it's a three-headed monster at the top. There's no denying it. Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Kind of all sitting around the same cost. It's surprising that Pat Mahomes is overtaken for the most expensive at the moment. He's at 26.18, Lamar at 25.4, and Josh Allen at 25.17. So I think at the start of the year, it was Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes. So again, we've got a bit of a discussion here, guys, and throwing to you, Secko. I mean, decisions. My plans were to move on from Mahomes at his bye and bring in Lamar Jackson. But again, Lamar Jackson's break-even has been pretty high these last couple of weeks. He's at 54 this week, excuse me. They're up against the Cleveland Browns. If you did have Mahomes, are you just going to hold him this week? Is it a bit of a sideways waste of a trade moving on to Lamar at this point for week 11?
Probably the most important thing is if you've got Mahomes now, you've held him over a bye week already. So you probably got your answer by choosing to hold him over a week rather than trading him like last week. He's gonna break. He's got a 69 break even in Denver. He's gonna lose money. So
Hey.
thing about Mahomes is he's these guys will probably both be worth more than him this time next week. Which again, it's a money game. But you're probably picking one now. If you're picking one now, you're picking one to just stick with. And that's part of the reason why I'm keeping May for one more week, because I want to see who's best financially for me. Because I think the points will be pretty close all this week, except for Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to have the worst score. Of course, you can come out and change that, but on the road against Denver, it doesn't look great for him. But yeah, you're right. I think we just want one of those. We want two of those three in our team, and it's about the right time. If you've got one, it's about the right time to get the other one. If you've got two now, ride with the two. Don't trade. Don't get cute and try and trade Mahomes to Lamar or Lamar to Allen or Allen to Lamar. I think if you've got any of the two of any of the three, just ride it until something changes. But the prices will all be pretty close. You can always pivot if something does change or happen.
And Secko, I'll also, before getting it to you, Mav, and I'll ask you the same thing. Let's rank these guys. There's only three. How do we see it for the rest of the season? I'll pull up. So Patty Mahomes, I do have his schedule up. So they've got Denver this week at Denver, I believe. Yep. And then they've got the Colts, Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Tennessee, Denver again, and the Raiders. So, I mean, probably three tough matchups on paper by the looks of it there for the quarterback position. Looking at Lamar, Cleveland this week, Jets, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincy, Pats, Green Bay, then Pittsburgh again. I mean, Cleveland this week is probably the hardest, followed up by New England in week 16, and then Green Bay in week 17. Josh Allen, what do we have here? Tampa Bay this week, so that's a nice +1, but then the Houston, Pitt, Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Eagles, and then the Jets. So on paper, Bills probably have the hardest schedule rest of the season. Just going at, Houston, Pats, Cleveland, Philly. They're probably 4 teams there. That's going to be tough. But Secko, your rankings for these 3 premium quarterbacks that we're hoping to end the year with.
Yeah, based on that schedule outlay, Lamar's the clear number one. He's so far, for me, so far and away. After this week, he has Jets, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Like, you can't ask for a better 4-week stretch for any quarterback, let alone Lamar. Yeah, that's a lot of points, in my opinion. Second, I'll have Mahomes. Again, he's got a bit of a 50-50 schedule. He's got Denver twice, but then he's got Dallas and Tennessee, the Raiders end of the season, and even the Chargers. I think a bit of a shootout in KC. And then Josh Allen and again, this is pretty close. This is not like a massive. Putting him last sounds really harsh, but that run that you read out, he's got Houston, New England, Cleveland, Philly, all in the space of 5 weeks. I just feel like that's just going to weigh him down to be more in that floor, the 35 to 45 floor range, rather than those 60s that we love out of our quarterbacks.
And Mav, same thing for you. If you had to rank these three, is it kind of in line with Secko there, or would you chop and change Josh Allen and Mahomes?
I'd probably agree, but we're talking about great quarterbacks here, boys. I mean, we're looking at bad matchups, and these guys can still score high on these bad matchups as well. That's how good they are. So it doesn't matter too much, in my opinion. There's a bit of this and that in it, sure, but I mean, great quarterbacks have teared up great defenses before. We've seen it plenty of times, and it will happen again. So whatever. A name that I will mention though as a good pod, and he's been on fire recently, is actually Matt Stafford. If you want to go down the other route and be a bit different to everyone else, Matt Stafford is not far off these guys. He's in MVP form, to be fair. He's on that level of Drake May at the moment, too. Those two actually favourite for the MVP at this current point in time. It's splitting hairs, and I haven't got many of them, but splitting hairs between those two at the moment for the MVP. Not to say that these great QBs and Mahomes and Allen can sort their shit out and come from the clouds and win it, because it can happen. But at the moment, Stafford and Drake May are the lead runners for MVP. So I think Stafford would have to be in consideration as well if you want to be a bit different and have a different quarterback in there. He's been really, really good. I'm going to mention his numbers real quickly just before we move on. But the last 3 weeks he's had 54 exactly in the last 3 weeks. And he's had a game of 18 in week 6, which is pretty average. Week 5 was 51. Week 4 was 54. Week 3 was 29. Week 2 was 36, and week 1 was 27 against Houston. So all in all, it's been a really, really solid year. And his rest of season schedule isn't that bad either. I mean, he's got Seattle, Tampa, Carolina, Arizona, Detroit, Seattle, and Atlanta. So that's not a bad schedule either. And they've got Puka and Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams in there. It's a pretty good offense. So if you want to go different, I think Matt Stafford isn't a bad play at this point. Yeah, he's old. He's a fossil. But God, he's been balling. He's averaging 42 points per game, and Lamar and Allen are only 2 or 3 in front of him. So if you want to be a bit different, I would recommend Matt Stafford.
He's been absolutely lights out, and especially towards that goal line area. And Secko, I'm sure you can attend to this. You watch the Rams games very closely. They just throw to Devontae in the end zone instead of feeding it off to Kyron. Devontae's just racking up touchdowns for fun. Is he probably your top pod out of the outside 3 that you'd even throw out there as an option, or is there any other names that kind of come to mind?
Well, he is, but I mean, he's not a prototypical fantasy quarterback. He's never done this before. He's never scored. I mean, he's done it back for years, but he had Calvin Johnson in those days. Even when he had the Cooper Cup amazing year, Stafford was, I think, quarterback 15 on the year or something. He wasn't. He doesn't score that way because it just doesn't work like this. Devontae Adams has completely changed the way they call the game. McVay's had to completely change the way he sees the game. It's always the running back has been such a key part of his offensive philosophy, and now it's not, because they just have a. I mean, they're still going to look after Puka in the red zone. That's the reason why it works so beautifully. So, he's been top 6 every week since week 7 in SuperCoach, that is, which is hard to do because there's always those big spike ones. Like remember when Bo Nix had one good week? Like that sort of thing happens all the time. But he's been consistent. He's he's not going to win the MVP, unfortunately, because
He's had one bad week for the year. Like it's a good player. I reckon.
He's a great player. The narrative is he's not going to. There's a rotation of MVPs, and we mentioned the 3 of them who are going to be in it every year for the next 5 years or 8 years. It's Patrick Mahomes' turn this year, so gamble responsibly. Take that $7 and run with it, because I just think it's an absolute lock. Drake May, love him. Everyone knows that he won't win MVP. Stafford won't, and then Jonathan Taylor doesn't throw the ball, so he can't win it either. Unfortunately for that, that's just the way it's going to go. But yeah, no, Stafford's been great. If you want to go potty, go potty. He's not slowing down.
Yeah, Matt Stafford. And on that real quick, before we get to a couple of cheap options, I did hear on the Pat McAfee show, he brought it up. the past 7 years of MVP first place votes has been 350. Only one non-quarterback has gotten one first place vote, and that was Cooper Kupp when he had the Triple Crown. And, they went on to win the Super Bowl. So, again, it is a quarterback award. JT would have to go absolutely sky high, even on top of where he is at the moment, to get in that consideration. But, yeah, man, I'd love to see little Drake May step in there. But in terms of a cheap quarterback option, if you are looking to downgrade, save a bit of cash, I think Tyler Shuck is probably going to be your best bet. He's on bye this week. So, again, he'd be riding the pine, but minus 24 break even, only 6 million or 6.3 rather, 38 points last week. And he looks good that we touched on. Kellen Moore's going to let him air the ball out a bit more. Their season's lost. It has been since week 1. So they've got nothing to lose in rolling out Tyler Shuck. Running backs, gents, and we will kind of go through our same positional rankings as well. We do have to start 4 guys here. I mean, guys with the bye to come, JT, no doubt. I threw in there was a comment on one of our YouTube videos the other week, and, it was JT or Josh Jacobs if you had to bring one in. Before the big 95 points this week, I said Josh Jacobs because, there's too much cash between there. I mean, looking at it now, there's a 10 mil gap between him and Josh Jacobs. It's probably going to be a bit unrealistic trying to bring him in at this point, unless you're just Scrooge McDuck and just saving a whole heap of cash in your bank there. But JT, he's made you 1.6 mil on top of this week. He's on the buy. CMC, buy to come in week 14, 23.3 million. And Devon Achane, we haven't really mentioned him at all really the last few weeks, but he is just emerging. He's coming off a big 74-point score, tearing up the Bills, who have been goddamn terrible against the run this year. He's under 20 million, so he's a nice little option, but the Miami Dolphins do have their bye coming up. And we'll just run straight in. Guys past the bye. We'll right up the top. Jahmyr Gibbs, massive score, 73 points. Josh Jacobs, tried and true, 33. Lock him in for a touchdown each week. Bijan's let you down. He's dropped a whole heap of cash. Lost you just under 3 million this week. Guys, out of these, I guess kind of 6 names, JT, CMC, Achane, Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, Bijan, your top 4 that you have to kind of put them through. And then, I guess we can kind of even just rattle off the top 6 if people do want to have a little bit more insight on that. But Mav, for you, your top 4 rest of season, if you had all the money in the world, you could just slot in 4 guys, to ride you home through this thing for the final 8 weeks. Who would they be?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a bit deeper. I'm going to tell you my top 7 players that I've got for the remainder of the year, okay? So my top 7 players, JT, McCaffrey, Achane, Gibbs, Jacobs, Bijan, and James Cook, okay? I haven't got Saquon in there. I haven't got Derrick Henry in there. They're not in there, okay? Christian McCaffrey, unfortunately, has got his bye in week 14. So if I don't own JT, lucky me, I will be flipping Christian McCaffrey to JT in week 14 and getting him in. All right. That's what I'll be doing personally. I should have JT 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks ago, but I don't have him in. And I've just missed the port. The boat's gone. So I've got JT rest of the year, like points wise. I think it's JT. I think it's McCaffrey. I think it's Gibbs. And then you can almost put a toss up between Achane and Josh Jacobs and Bijan, really. They're all about the same value, in my opinion. Gibbs, unfortunately, has the Montgomery factor, so he's always going to have down weeks because Montgomery exists. But when Jahmyr Gibbs gets the whole play, he's like a top 2 running back. We saw him last week; he scored 73 points. We know how good he is when given the opportunity to flourish. So that's why the ceiling for Gibbs is so high. He's always going to be my top 4 because that ceiling is so damn high. I think that's my 4 anyway. I think if I had to gun to my head, JT, it'd be McCaffrey, it'd be Gibbs, and I will put Josh Jacobs in there over Achane, very just.
It's a tight one with SuperCoach. There's that top 7 that you listed out. Those guys are kind of clear and above. I mean, JT and CMC are a level above everybody else that I think. Jahmyr Gibbs is a very interesting one. We saw Dan Campbell take over play calling duties. So again, he was in there. Jamo got the ball more. Gibbs was absolutely stunning. Again, up against the Commanders, who have been absolutely woeful on that defensive end. You can take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But Secko, for you, anything really defer? I mean, Mav's given us JT, McCaffrey, Gibbs, and Josh Jacobs as his top 4. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's a hard question to answer because there is buys included in this. So it's from now on. It's for 8 weeks. So I interpret it as who's going to score the most points over the next 8 weeks, and there's 3 of the guys who only play 7 games, and are they going to be enough to? Are they going to average enough to overcome that missed bias? Now, Devon Achan is actually the 3rd running back in the 5-week and the 3-week average. He's better than Gibbs, Jacobs, Bijan, Kyron, only behind CMC and JT in the last 5 weeks. If he didn't have a bye, he'd probably look. Might sound bold. He'd be my number 2. He is the entirety of that offense. It's so clear and obvious, and he's just so good at it. Unfortunately, he has the bye, so he has to be. For me, I have to scrub him out. I'd love to have him, but I just wouldn't want to carry that. So Jonathan Taylor has to be in there just because he has to be in there. But it's sort of counterintuitive to me as well because his run after the bye is just objectively harder than everyone else in this list. So let's play it and say JT is not in my top 4 because A, he misses a week and he's got a really hard run. So my top 4 would be Gibbs, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, and Devon Achan. And Devon Achan only gets in there because he's so much better than everyone who's not having a bye. And I have the edge over him, over CMC and JT because I want to be different. But it's interesting. I'm so far off James Cook and Saquon is probably not quite there because he's run out of gas and Henry's the same. So the guys we were also in that conversation earlier in the year, but yeah, bit different. But I think JT's a full fade. I'm sticking to my brand.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the difference there in Achan. Definitely don't like the fade on JT, but nah, it's an interesting one. I think a good point to bring up with these running backs too. Like, of course, we want to look for the ceiling. We want to look for the guys that are gonna, give us the best chance to maximize our total points in the week. But we also need to consider the floor for some of these running backs as well. I mean, like James Cook to me, out of that list, definitely has the lowest floor. We've seen a few weeks if that running game just can't get going, if he doesn't get in the end zone, it's terrible. He's had a game of 9 points, 17 and 15. Like that nukes your week. That isn't gonna really help you out. I mean, Josh Jacobs, super safe floor in my eyes. Like I said, he only scored 33 this week, but a touchdown pretty much every week you can pencil him in for. He's that offense. Jordan Love hasn't been good, but it's some tough discussion. But Bijan Robinson, if you are listening to this, the owners out there, don't be misled. He's had a couple of down weeks. Tyler Algier isn't going to score all the touchdowns we hope for the rest of the year. And yeah, he's got a super safe floor as well with just how much work that he gets there and that. So yeah, it's a tough one coming up. I'm going to not, keeping track of time. I'm not going to go into my list. You guys have absolutely nailed that. I'll just piggyback on that. But if we want to get cute, deferring from these top 6 to 7 guys that we have here, is there anybody else that's really in consideration? I mean, in traditional fantasy, I'm trying to buy Saquon Barkley everywhere. I just think their run home is great. I know in this kind of format, it's probably past the time, but he's just under 16 million. So again, if you're running out of cash to bring in any of these top guys, he's a nice option. But Secko, any other names that really stick out that you'd be, I guess, willing to put into that grouping if you had to, given your cash situation?
Yeah, it's probably not expressly. I did forget Bijan when I was saying all those names, but he's passed his bye as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he turns completely around. He's just such a good player, but at the moment it's hard to put him in that top, top 4, 5, 6 for me. I will hold him though, and I will hope he comes good. The only one which is sort of not ideal at the moment, but Kyron Williams has been on a really good run, and he's actually losing some work and still performing. So if Blake Corum goes away, Kyron Williams has a bit more juice to squeeze out of that. He's just behind Jacobs in 3 and 5 week averages. He's got that sort of floor like you mentioned, Mull earlier. In the last 5 weeks, he's had one score of 14. The next lowest was 31. He's consistently he's had 54, 34, 42. So he's a consistent scorer. If you're looking for, again, super potty, you might go Stafford and Williams. It'd be very weird to do that. But if you want to be different, You can do a lot worse, I think, than Kyron Williams on the run he's had the last month.
And a couple of cheap options here that we will just kind of bring up real quickly if you are looking to downgrade. Cole Monongai, he's made just over 4 million, minus 11 break even off the buy if you need to free up some cash. There is Woody Marks there, just under 10 million. Might be a little too late at this point, but it is his backfield now. The offense is just super gross at the Texans. I know for me, I would be fading that. But the number one cheapy guy to bring in if you don't have him, of course, it would have been hard to stay faithful throughout the first 9 weeks of the year. But Trevion Henderson, again, it only took 10 weeks, but he is the pick of the litter in terms of cheap options. He's the cheapest, just under 8 million, minus 32 break even. Does have the bite to come, but I mean, this week I've got him filling in for JT, and I'm more than happy having Trevion there. So, guys, Mav, to you, any other kind of names on this list, or that's pretty much it at this point of the year in terms of a cheap option?
Yeah, I've only really got interest in Trevion Henderson. At the start of the year, now I've been interested in him back again. So I have made a trade currently, and I'll put this right out there. I have moved on Kiami Vidal, and I have got in Trevion Henderson in there. So I've made $3 million. I think it's top of my head. I think that the Pats shouldn't go back to Ramondre. They should keep sticking with Trevion. And if you have an injury to a running back at any point, you need to lean on Trevion. He might be the starter for the remainder of the year. He could be at least capable of doing so. He looked really good in last week when given all the opportunity, and they've got a really juicy schedule for the remainder of the year. So yeah, they got a buy in there. But again, if you want to make some money, I think he's the guy. Outside that, I don't really have too much interest in anyone else. Travion's probably pretty much my guy as a downgrade option.
Moving on to wide receivers, we'll do the same thing. We'll nail out. It is a little bit more difficult with wide receivers. We have to start 6, but in my eyes, for the rest of the season, there is a clear 7. And I'll throw this out in Secko. We'll get your thoughts on this too. Jamar, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Puka, Rashee Rice, and CD Lamb. I think those kind of core 7, you can kind of mix it up however you want. I think that's probably the core, 6 of that list is probably what you want to go with. For me, Drake London probably drops out of that list. I'm just lack of confidence in the Falcons, lack of confidence in Michael Penix. Raheem Morris is kind of come under the hot seat. They've lost 4 weeks in a row there, so I'm not too confident in Drake London. But out of these guys here, I mean, we probably don't need to go in order of top 6 with wide receivers, but are you kind of the same? Are you fading Drake London from this list if you had to, or is there another name that you'd probably move away from? Or in turn, another name that you'd rather bring up to the top 6 if you could? Secko, you got us there?
I think those 7 are spot on, and Drake he's my 7th player. Puka, Amon-Ra, Rushy, and Lamb in that order. I think it's very clear now those 3 pass their buy as well, that week 10 buy. If you hopefully had 1 or 2, you can now get the 3rd if you're making the trades, and go with those. I still got JJ. I haven't got Jamar, which kills me at the moment, but I may never get him, but I would love to have him. But the rest of them they're just really good, solid options every week and massive flaws.
And Mav, for you, anything that really differs from that top 7 that we have there? I mean, all of these guys are over 16.5 million. We'll have a couple of options later on to try and throw out there if people don't have the cash. But yeah, same thing for you. Top 6 wide receivers, who drops out of that list?
Yeah, I've got roughly about the same, to be honest. I mean, wide receivers are very tough, especially in this format, in any format really, because you can have one big buy-up week or one down week and your score gets nuked. You don't get 15 touches a game like the running backs do. You might have only opportunity for 4 or 5 times in a game versus a running back. So it's a bit harder for wide receivers in the game, unfortunately. But you could. I know not Garrett Wilson. Lad McConkey's got his buy coming up, but he's been really good the last 5 weeks and had a slow start at the start of the year, but now he's starting to really ramp up and get going. And he's like pretty much carrying the wide receiver corp at the moment. So if you want to incorporate Lad McConkey into the top 7, top 8, top 9, somewhere around there, you could. He's probably a step below these guys, but I think he's a bit more consistent, especially in the last month or so anyway, when he started to get going. Hopefully he can continue that run of good form. But outside of that, I mean, Jalen Waddle's been pretty good too, being the sole wide receiver since Tyreek's gone down. So he's been pretty good. You can chuck him in there, and unfortunately, Nico Collins is so up and down. You never know what you're going to get out of the Texans offense, but he might round out the top 10 just based off ceiling, in my opinion anyway. But yeah, it's hard for wide receivers, man. But the top 7 is probably about right. I think that's how I'd view it as well.
Yeah, and I like how you had Ladd and Waddle there. They're both kind of similar situations at the moment. Both have the bye to come, both leading their wide receiver rooms there for their respective teams. I mean, Nico, if you he's the cheapest cost there, just under 13.2 million. He's got an 11 break even. He did lose 130K last week, but things are going to be on the up for him. Justin Jefferson, we are not too confident remainder of the season there. He's at 13.5 million. I know for me, I'll probably look to bring in Rashee Rice next week. Once they finish with the Broncos in here. Guys, I think we could probably just jump onto tight ends at this point. Guys, pass the bye to bring in. I know, again, it is a bit tough bringing in guys that still have the bye to come, but George Kittle, he's one of my trade-ins this week. I just think he's too good. Week 14 bye, still 3 weeks of production that you'll have up your sleeve here, and then you can switch out your bench tight end to kind of cover there. He did lose 250K. His break even is 28, so I think now is probably the last chance you have to buy him at the last price or the cheapest price that it'll be all year. And guys, pass the buy. Secko, I mean, we saw Brock Bowers. He was a big trade-in after his monster 70-odd point week, but he let us down up against Denver last week here. Is he another clear standout for you, or is there another premium option you'd be looking to bring in to pair with Kittle?
I think it's very similar to the quarterback discussion we had going back a bit. There's a clear 3, and they were the same 3 that were at the start of the year, which is funnily enough, and it sort of came back around. They all missed time or had their issues, but Trey McBride, that's sort of another sliding doors moment, the Jacobs JT moment again, where I chose Bowers over McBride because he was going to make more money, and I like McBride so much more than Bowers. I don't know why I did it. Sucks. I'm tempted to just burn an extra trade and just get McBride in this week. It's so dumb. I have to do the money on that, but there's every chance come Friday, Bowers is out and McBride's in because I just hate that I made that bad decision. But McBride's a clear number 1. He's gone up almost 2 mil, I think, last week. He's 17.3 million. So he's like, again, he's 2.5 mil more than Bowers. It's like, is it worth paying that more? Because Bowers could outscore him. That's just the reality of the position. But geez, Geno Smith looks terrible. Makes it hard.
Yeah, we could I think Aiden O'Connell is still the backup there for the Raiders, so we might see a little bit of him because, Geno has looked god-awful. But, really, George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. If you don't have the cash for McBride and you want to bring in Bowers, here's a nice one there. Or if you want to go even cheaper, Colson Loveland, he's taken over that tight end room for the Bears. He's made a heap of cash, 8.4 million, minus 23 break even, so he's going to make some more. And we also have Luke Musgrave. If you want to go real cheap, if you have no plans of starting him whatsoever, he's at 3.6 million. He'll go up next week as he is on the bubble there. But kickers, again, it is hard to look at bringing in kickers, but you want to bring in guys at this point past the bye. Mav, we've got your main man here, or he used to be after you gave him the flick a couple of weeks ago. But I think we were talking on the previous show. The common denominator here, the variable that's happened for Cam Little to produce the goods, you dropped him after you did nothing, and then he's had back-to-back weeks of 30. Are you looking to bring him back in at all at this point, or is he just, he's broken your heart and you can't go back there?
He's gone, mate. Unfortunately, next year I'm probably going to look at bye weeks, probably more closely with kickers. I think week 10 is actually not a bad bye week, or week 9. I think Cam will have the bye. So maybe next year we've learnt a lot with buys and how we play them. Now I think we've got a better idea for next year. So obviously not having a kicker early is, with an early buy is the play. I never had it, but I'm just saying, for argument's sake, I think, if you have a buy week 9, week 10, week 11 for a kicker, it's probably perfect because you can then flip him to a premium player who might have an earlier buy, so you can keep him for the year. So, that's one for next year, obviously. But no, unfortunately, you make one trade on kicker a year, so you got to make sure you get it right. So, unfortunately, in my play, I've brought in Rijkaard, the kicker out of Minnesota, and he's top 13. He hasn't been too bad, and they're separated between 2 points per game between him at 13 to the third, fourth best kicker. So you're really talking about 2 points per game. So it's not really a big difference, but anyway, it's one to look at for next year. Anyway, with the buys and when to trade and who to trade for. Study the schedule a bit closer in that regard because Brandon Aubrey, for example, man, we think he's the best kicker in the football. He's currently 9th on the list for average points per game. So I think bye weeks is important, and good offenses is obviously being important as well. But again, it's so hard to pick a right kicker. You have to rely on teams that don't go on for fourth downs as well. I mean, if a team goes for fourth downs, you're never getting an opportunity to kick the ball with big sticks. So there's a lot of factors that come into kickers, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think, one trade on kickers is more than enough. I know I've spent 2 trades this year on kickers, and it's just, another trade that you could have had up your sleeve to get you down the stretch. It's definitely a nice savvy move to, really focus on those buys next year. We'll be interesting to see how the SuperCoach format changes when it lays out. I mean, I'd love to see them remove kickers and defenses if it was my say, because they're just gross as. But the other name here that sticks out past the buy, I mean, Brennan Aubrey, Mav just touched on. He's nice there at 11.3 million. Chris Boswell, again, if you're looking for another name, he's probably on the higher end if you can afford that luxury. But Secko, we do have a little cheap option here that looks to have the job. And it's is this for your LA Rams or is this for the Chargers? I've absolutely no idea.
It's the real LA team. Harrison Mevis, he's got the nod. It's he's 3.7 million. He hasn't played his 3 games yet, so he's purely a moneymaker for me. I'm going down to him for a bit of fun because he's a big chunky boy. Love a good chunky kicker like back in the day, like Randy Bullock back in the day. He's a big solid dude. So you gotta like those chunky boys. These Brandon Aubrey types a bit boring. Like they're like a guy with a bit of I like an unfit NFL player if I can find one. So 3.7 mil is the reason why it frees up money to go for JT in 3 weeks, like Mav.
Yeah, I love it, Mevis. Yeah, I remember seeing those.
When he's $35 million or whatever he's going to be worth.
He's coming in.
And he's just going to keep on rising. I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Mevis, I like that. And even better, I was thinking Mevis for the Rams. Is this the chunky guy? And then I had to have a quick look up and confirm that after you're going through it. But we'd love to see it. Hopefully, he can kick a couple of big bombs. The big man for the defenses here again. Similar to kickers, you don't really want to be burning too many trades on these guys. I mean, defense probably more so than kickers. You'd probably be a little bit more flexible. But the Ravens, we've had them here as a trade in the last couple of weeks. They've gone up 1.4 million, just over 12% owned, minus 11 break even currently. And the schedule is just so good. Cleveland, New York Jets coming up. The Ravens are a nice team, and they're just getting even healthier as well there. But again, you only really want to be burning trades on defenses if you absolutely have to with these buys here. That'll close out the trade-ins part of tonight's Trade Talk show. We'll get into some questions as per usual. If you are watching on YouTube, please smack that like button, hit the big subscribe, ring that bell. We're dropping multiple shows each week, and you will get notified when those ones drop. Kicking off to comments. Again, we will limit these to just trade dilemma questions for SuperCoach, even though there is a lot of nice compliments here for Secko's red hat that I can see there. But from the top, one from Charles. Considering bringing in Achane because the Dolphins draw looks sweet. I already have 4 running backs. He'll be number 5. Also, who would you trade Hurts for? Allen or Jackson, or just keep him? So from the top, we're all on the same page here. It hurts to say I'm also Lamar number one, even though I don't have him on my team. So Hurts to Lamar would be that trade there. You might, you could get a bit savvy and kind of wait a week with Lamar up against Cleveland, but I know he did torch them, I think, for 4 passing touchdowns when they played earlier in the year. But Secko, I'll throw this to you here. He already has 4 running backs. We'd love to know who those are, but would you look to bring in A-Chain here? I know with the bye coming up.
It depends how many trades. I mean, you can. It's good to have bench cover, obviously. So look, I mean, yes is the answer. The only problem is he's got to buy next week. So you bring him now to start him a week and then hold him a week. And yes, he's the number 5 anyway. It's all about whether it works for trades and works for money. But absolutely, Javonte Williams to Devon Achane, for example, while they're only maybe 3.5, 4 mil apart, makes all the sense in the world to me.
This one here from Theo. Would you trade Derrick Henry or Saquon? Mav, out of these two, if you had to remove one from your squad, who would you rather have rest of season?
I think I'd rather Derrick Henry personally. I do like Saquon's rest of season schedule, but again, they're both in the same category. Really, they are, and you can't really split them. To be fair, they've both been pretty disappointing in their own rights, and they've been on par pretty much the whole way through too. So maybe Saquon has the advantage just due to the schedule, but I mean, yeah, again, I say this all the time. It's like splitting hairs, and I don't have any.
There you have it. We'll save Mav's remaining hairs there. SuperCoach Edge, Dart to Lamar. Good time to pull the trigger and to follow up, who you said, or is it better to pay a little extra for Mahomes? We're on the Lamar side. You kind of forced your hand with Dart missing this week with the concussion. We think it's looking like it'll be that way. So you can pull the trigger early and bring in Lamar for that one there. What else do we have here? One from Ian Johnson. VC Loop JT last round scored 555 into top 7,000. When are you lads looking at buying into his stock? Sorry, guys, I should have read that one. That might be a bit painful. But Secko, you were mentioning with JT, you're looking to bring him in after, he's got the bye this week, but round 14, you're kind of looking around maybe after CMC potentially, or how you're playing that one out if you're looking to bring in JT.
Yeah, look, it's not a certainty. It's a potential. I'm going to have money in the bank off this. That's part of the reason going down to the cheapest kicker and things of that nature. I've got Gadsden's money sitting there, maturing quite well. So there'll be options to go down. It depends on whether I want to go down to fewer trades and actually do that CMC to JT trade. So we'll see how we go. If I can do it in one trade, it works financially for them. I also worry about Drake May at some point as well. So there's 2 more trades I'm probably going to make. So JT's not as pressing probably as getting rid of May before his bye.
And another one here from Ian. I'll throw it to you, Mav. DJ Moore out this week. He's bringing in Jamison Williams. I'll just quickly pull up what Jamison Williams' cost is. How do you feel about that one? I mean, DJ Moore, you can definitely get rid of him, but would you look at Jamison Williams, or would you rather bring in someone else? I mean, Emeka Egbuka, $600K less. Nico Collins is $1 million more, perhaps. What are your thoughts on DJ Moore and Jamo?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Jamison Williams, you can't even put him in the top 24 for the remainder of the year, let alone players that are looking in the top 10, top 7, top 12. You can't even put Jamo in the top 24, in my opinion. So for that, you're pretty much sideways trading at this point in time. DJ Moore and Jamison Williams are very on par. They're actually very similar. But, some good weeks, some bad weeks, and mostly more bad than good. So, no point. No point. It's not week 3. It's when he's got a low break even, you might jump on it. It's not week 3. We're in a different part of the year now where you start chasing your end of year team. So not the trade to make.
One here from Luke Wiskowski. Thanks for the comment, Luke. Who's the better play this week between Vidal and Henderson? Need just under 3 mil to go Dart to Lamar. Can downgrade Tet or downgrade Vidal if it's better to play Henderson over him. Thoughts? Nice and easy. Vidal to Henderson is a great play, and you can play him in this week up against the Jets. That's we're all in agreement there. That's a nice move to make. What have we got? Another one here from Azza Twizzy. McMillan, Sutton, Rice, Puka, Jefferson, Ayomana, Watson, Tez, and $11 million in the bank. Wow, lucky you. You've got a whole heap of cash there. Need to fix wide receiver. How do we tackle this one, gents? Throw it to you, Secko. I mean, Ayomana just come off the bye. I'm going to say it's Christian Watson, Tez Johnson there. So, I mean, Rice, Puka are probably your two locks at this point. Potentially could be a boosting week, I think, if you've got it there. But how are you kind of handling this wide receiver room as it stands?
I mean, it's good to have money in the bank, but there's a lot of holes in the wide receiver core there. At a stretch, Jefferson can be included, so 3 out of the 6 probably starters. Sutton's probably the most pressing go. He's not even close to what he was. I'd probably go Sutton and McMillan. And if you've got a boost left, try and boost up some money. Go down to someone really cheap and get 2 receivers, namely CeeDee Lamb and Rushy Rice for a combined 34 mil. So you only need that 11 McMillan. So you only need another 2 or 3 mil on top of you. So you should be able to find that through another trade if you've got it. But yeah, I'd move out 2 of those guys, 2 highest price guys to get 2 studs, and then field, Tez Johnson while Evans is out, and fix that next week.
Yeah, I think, so McMillan and Sutton are the key pieces to move out there. You've already got Rice, or even CeeDee Lamb, if you needed to bring in another primo. He's cheaper.
Rice, sorry, yeah.
You're gonna get a bit more cash. But no, yeah, you've got some good options there. Even a Monra isn't too far off if you do need to look at another option. What else do we have here? One from Alex over in the States. Always good to see your comments here, Alex. Is it worth trading Bijan for Achane with all of Algiers red zone snaps? Mav, how do you feel about this one?
It's not a bad shout, but again, we're looking at Achane here. It's going to have his bye coming up, and as bad as not bad, but as frustrating as Bijan can be because of Algier being existent, I don't think I'd be moving on to Achane because he's got the bye. So unfortunately, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
And the last comment that we will get to here, another one from Ian. We'll answer one more for you. I only have 12.5 million to bring in someone for DJ Moore. And guys, I will just rattle off a couple of names. And Secko, I might even leave it to you. If you have to bring in a guy at this price in wide receivers, I mean, Emeka Egbuka, Roma Dunze are both there. Marvin Harrison, that's probably a more riskier play. Yeah, how do you feel about this one, Secko? Under that, you do have a couple of nice options there in Roman and Mecca. I mean, they're the 2 standouts, but is there anything else that you kind of think is a nice little deep dive, perhaps?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of guys I'd have over Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has had 3 good weeks. It just doesn't ever go forever with him, unfortunately. You just know it's probably going to crash. If it does crash, it's probably going to crash pretty hard. I'd go Egbuka first. I'd just do that. Assuming you've got him, if you're considering going Jameson instead of him, let's assume that he's got Egbuka already. I think Rome, you had DJ Moore. You're upgrading to the clear better player in that offense, and I think they're going to be a really good offense going forward. Rome is a clear number 1. He had 1 bad week. He had a heel injury. Didn't practice all week. Write that off. He's been actually amazing outside of that 1 game. So I think Rome is your choice. He's had 2 bad games. The rest of it's been really, really good as well. But yeah, and then DK Metcalf, we spoke about as a sell. He's a risky guy. If you're shopping in that sort of that aisle, he's probably going to have a big week this week. And then you can look to trade him with a bit more cash on his head. But yeah, I'd probably just go Egbuka, and if not him, Dunze. It's pretty straightforward there.
Love it. Thanks heaps for the comments. Everybody, please, if you have any more, just drop them on the YouTube section after this live stream has ended. Captain Tuttle show dropping in the morning. We'll be going through the top captain's options for this week, a couple of vice captain options as well. And then our week 11 primer that starts for the week tomorrow night will kick off at 7:30. As per usual, our final show of the week, we'll have a massive injury report to also get through and update you all to prepare for the week ahead. Thanks heaps for tuning in to the Inside NFL podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Cheers.
Bye.